Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is the start of the Rook and the Rose trilogy. This is a adult fantasy series. This will be completely spoiler filled. So this is really dedicated to people who have read the trilogy, who want to know all the things, who want an in-depth discussion. This won't be any content except talking about the books and what's in the books. It's all the spoilers, it's all three. I'll be rereading books 1 and 2, and then on release day of Labyrinth's Heart, I will be reading that book. So I'm very excited. It's gonna be very in-depth. I hope it's a dessert project. I think no one is going to watch this video, but I don't care because these are my favorite books of the year. I'm super excited to talk spoilers about them, and I just wanted to do this, so that's what it is. Hi, so I have finished my reread of Mask of Mirrors, and I'm here to talk about it. So my favorite characters are Wren and Vargo. I do think that Vargo might be like my most favoritist, but the thing that I love about Wren and Vargo is honestly that they are two different sides of the same coin. Wren has this connection to Pattern. Vargo has the connection to Numenatra. They're both mixed race from the city. They are both trying to elevate from the lowest caste of people, basically the poorest people, the children of the street, up into the nobility, but they are taking different paths to get there. Wren has two specific boundaries. She doesn't sleep with people to get what she wants, and she doesn't kill, and Vargo does not have those particular hang-ups. They are both helped by other people, Wren specifically by Andraka's training, and then also her connection to Sedge and Tess, and that love that she has for them, and the way that those siblings are the thing that she will burn the entire world down for. And then Vargo doesn't have anyone that close to him. Even the people who are close to him, including Sedge in a lot of ways, he doesn't hold close to him like that. But that doesn't mean that he is heartless. And I think that a lot of times Wren can kind of come across as almost like too good. She's pulling off all these cons, but she cares about everyone and she's not trying to hurt anyone and all of this. But like honestly, it doesn't bother me. I think because she doesn't feel that way about everyone. She's not trying to actively cause harm to innocent people, but she won't burn the world down for absolutely anyone. She has to have a connection to you, and I think that that's honestly the way most of us are. We're not really trying to be the worst person in someone's life. There's also some people that we do a lot of things for, a few things for, or literally anything for. And Vargo comes across as very unfeeling and uncaring and like he doesn't have ties to anyone, but that's not true. We know from his point of view that he does care, that he is not actively trying to cause harm to innocents, at least. He talks about how using people as tools, you know, he doesn't damage his tools, but he doesn't get attached to them. But we know that that's not quite the sum of his feelings for people. One of the things that I find super interesting about Wren is that she is a slipknot. She betrayed the leader of her knot, and that is the biggest blasphemy that she could commit. And she personally views it as such a terrible thing that she did. But for her brother and sister, her blood sworn brother and sister, you know, she would sell her soul. She would do anything. She would do the worst thing imaginable, which she did. And I find it interesting that with the registers and the nobility, they mostly go by who's in the register and the business aspect of that for who they're connected to, but blood ties still mean something to them. It's perfectly fine for Wren, as the cousin of House Trementus, as the cousin of Leato, to have a romantic relationship with him and it not be incest. But when Sedge is having to pretend like he's sweet on Tess, when Renata is out of her mind from the lack of sleep, that would be incest. Like, that would be unpardonable because they are blood sworn siblings, even though they're not blood tied siblings. And I just think that that's really interesting. I love the imagery of Vargo as a spider, not only because I think that we are definitely going to find that he is connected to the spider clan of the Vishenians, but also just, you know, the way that he operates, and of course, what's his face? Alrius? Something like that. Being in the body of a spider, a peacock spider, and I don't know, it just fascinates me. The other thing with Vargo and Wren is they both use fashion as a weapon against other people, but they don't judge other people by their own fashion choices. So I think a lot of times, you think of someone who's really into fashion is a stereotype. That's all they care about, and they don't see your value or your worth if you don't also care about that. That's not the way they are. They really use it as a weapon, as a way to communicate what they want to say to people, and they don't allow that same weapon to be used against them from other people. I love when Vargo figures out that Wren thinks that he's the Rook and plays into it, and that kind of leads to the betrayal at the end where Wren figures out that he has betrayed her. And we know that he didn't really mean to. He didn't mean it. My precious baby. And this is why I think that Vargo is maybe my favorite character, is because when it comes to Wren and Vargo hurting each other, I care more when Wren hurts Vargo than I do when Vargo hurts Wren. I think it's because Wren is going to, in the next book that hasn't happened yet, is going to intentionally try and draw Vargo's blood, and he has only ever harmed her kind of accidentally. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's not that he's my favorite, maybe it's because of the purposefulness of it, but I do love them both. I think that Tess being the mastermind behind the fashion is really cool, because I don't mind a character that's kind of all unto themselves, but I prefer when they have a support network and they are using their collective knowledge and expertise and all of this to forward towards a goal. And I think that that's much more interesting and realistic than just one character who can do it all and knows it all and is good at everything. Like, I like having that support system be a vital piece of the contributing factor that, drives us forward to success. I knew the Rook's identity from the very beginning. However, every time Wren suspected someone of being the Rook, I was right there with her. I was like, I don't know, are you? Let's find out. And I think that they did a really good job with all of that. But it was ultimately who I thought it had been the entire time, or at least from the beginning. I think that this book really, it has a slow start, but it relies on you being a character reader and enjoying the characters. As much plot as there is, especially in the second half of the book, you need to care about these characters, I think, because a lot of the beginning you're just following them going through their lives, and then even further on, all of it is kind of connected to them, and if you don't care about them, why would you care about their problems? I think that part 2 being mostly about Liado, and we learn so much more about him, and we figure out what he's doing secretly and how he's trying to take down House Indister because of the harm that they are committing to his family, and kind of to avenge Grey's brother, but not so much as to save his family. And then of course they have this little romantic entanglement, and then he dies. Which I did not want him to be endgame for Wren. He was not my favorite option as a love interest. Vargo's still my favorite option, but we're clearly not getting that. But I didn't want him to die. I did not want him to die. And then seeing his family and Wren and Grey just mourning him, and how they have already lost so much and the curse has taken so much from them, and it's just down to these 2 people with the addition of Wren, and how he was their shining hope and then he was gone. Some of the things that I find really interesting about the end of this book, and it really sets us up for The Liar's Knot, which is a beautiful title. The world building in that title just makes me so happy. It's so satisfying. But we have, Tess with her hawk, I forget what his name is, that tie is cut and betrayed. We have Sedge with Vargo, that's gone. We have Wren with Vargo on Wren's end, that's gone. We have Grey was never really tied to Vargo, just kind of a mild dislike, but now we have hatred. We have the Rook going against Vargo directly. We have House Trementis and Wren growing closer, but Gianna knows that Wren is not her blood relative. We have obviously Liado gone, we have Andraka gone, we have all of these things. So we're ending this book with all of the, the world is saved. We're good. We saved it. We stopped it. Everything is better. We destroyed the enemy. Victory. But our emotional ties are kind of left in ruin. And really our cliffhanger is the anger that Ren and Gray feel towards Vargo when we know we love Vargo and Ren. And I think that we grow to love Gray a lot more in the next book, but at this point I don't even care that much about Gray. I care about Vargo and Ren, and now we are in direct opposition, and I'm just like, So that's kind of my thoughts on the first book. The rebellion, you know, I think is a lesser plot. I do like how we get more tied to it in the next book, and I like how their indigenous roots, even when it seems like they don't care or like they've left that behind, we know that each one of these characters does care about those roots and does care about their native people and, you know, the people that the nobility are ruling much more than they care about the nobility at all. So a beautiful book. Just as good this second time. And on to the next one. I have finished my reread of The Liar's Knot, and you can see I went a little ham with the tabs, but this book is my favorite of the first two. I do think that it's slightly faster paced than the first one because we have the foundation of the first one to go off of, but also like I just care about the characters so much at this point, and so much of this one is like the characters being at odds or tying in or reconciling or figuring things out, and I just love that. Again, warning, spoilers. It's all the spoilers, okay? So my favorite part of this book, I think, without a doubt, is the conversation where Ren tells Vargo all of the things. And I remember, like, the first time I read it, I didn't think that we would get all of these, you know, reveals until the third book. And I was like, oh, we have to go this whole book not communicating, like, still tricking people and stuff. But no, we don't. We get, like, all of that out in the open in this book. And just Vargo and Ren, like, getting drunk together and, you know, talking about how they were hurt or why they were hurt and how they really understand each other. I'm just like, oh, I love you. I would still rather they were together. I would rather Vargo and Ren were together than Gray and Ren, but whatever. He's good too, I guess. I do kind of like the scene where they are pretending to go off and have sex, and they're like, really, like, and she's just like, look, I'm not available. And how she said that, like, she is attracted to Vargo, but Gray is truly, like, the one that her heart belongs to. And I was like, all right, whatever. Okay, I accept you, but still, Vargo's my favorite. So, like, the whole first two parts of this book, they're really at odds with Vargo, and he just does things to help them anyways, and he doesn't even want them to know about it. I'm just like, my precious little baby. He's so alone. And then Alcius, like, being so excited to talk to Ren because he's had no one to talk to but Vargo for 16 years, and Vargo just being like, what am I, chopped liver? The whole thing, it's masterful. Okay, so I love how the rebels are kind of put on pause in this book with the whole, you know, capture and everything, and the escape from prison was such a good way to have Vargo and the Rose and the Rook all working together, and I loved that scene so much, how they're like crammed together and, you know, all this, just perfection. I am happy to see things moving with Gray out of the Vigil, and, you know, obviously it's a mirror to our own broken system. I'm very curious for in the third book to see how Ren and Gray can be together when Ren is both a Renza and Renata, but more particularly Renata. Like, how are we going to reconcile that? How are we going to fix it? What are we going to do so that our love story can end happily ever after? I don't know. I love how Gianna still doesn't know all the things about Ren, but takes her back. And I also like how Gianna's like, you know, Sibylla and Renata are so similar, but Renata's on my team. She's on my side, and so I'm going to stick beside her and help her, whether she's manipulating people or not. And then the whole kidnapping of Tess, when I forget his name, but her Hawk goes to rescue her with Gianna and Meatball. It's perfection. It's so good. Tess and Sedge are the reveal when they find out that Gray is the Rook, and also when they find out that Gray is seeing Arenza. Just such a good note to like leave the book on. And I'm so glad that Sedge is like back in with his knot. And then when Nickery was like going to be the betrayer, I was just like, no, Sedge cares about him so much. We need him not to do that. But you know, that got fixed too. I love that Peabody wanted Tess to make him gloves. I love all the things. I also love that he has the crush on what's her name? Her name starts with a T, but the one that's into Numenatra. He's just like, marry this woman. She knows all the things you need to know her. And Vargo's just like, I am not for you to live vicariously through. We are not doing that. Very curious to see if Vargo's romance solidifies in the third book. Very curious about that. The medallions, I'm like, one, so interesting that a Sorsha was part of the Tyrant's Rise, but obviously Pathern is going to be involved in taking it apart, and I don't know if I'm curious to see how much of that third book is problems that the medallions cause and the bearers cause and all of that. Like, obviously they need to have all the medallions, and I'm just very curious to see how much of a problem that is in the third book or not. I love all the interactions with the Rook and the Rose. I think that they are perfection. I love that they are interacting with each other in all of their different personas, and also just how Gray went to all this trouble to try and trick her, and then it's like, need your help, no can do. I think Alcius is the funniest character. I love the humor in this book, in both books. It's not like, super prevalent, but at the same time, it really works for me. I'm always like happy to see it lightening the mood. Yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the second book. I think that it's great for a middle book. I think it does such a good job of wrapping things up, setting things up, making so much progress that could have been drawn out and isn't. And I think that that is really the hallmarker of a good middle book, of resolutions being had and not just stretched out because the series isn't over yet. And I have a lot of faith in them being able to set up enough that the third book is just as great as the rest. And I can't wait to read it on Tuesday. I am 15 pages in and Latilia just showed up and I squawked, oh my god, because I cannot believe that this is happening now, like immediately. I fucking hate Latilia. I cannot wait for her to be crushed. Okay, so since this is new to me information, I wanted to update you guys when I finished part 1. Renata is no more, and I'm so happy with these authors because instead of leaving us on this massive emotional cliffhanger at the end of a book, it is just at the end of a part, which I appreciate so much, particularly because like right now I had to stop to like feed my children lunch and stuff. I am just in emotional turmoil based on these fictional characters and what they have done. So we have the trials. We let Ren get punched by that stupid person that was in the fingers with them that was a bully. Whatever, they value not. Whatever. We've got Gray and Vargo. Vargo figuring out that Gray is the Rook or was the Rook and that the Rook is broken and there's something wrong with the Rook. We've got, Gray and Vargo both competing in the trials. We've got Latilia. Is it Latilia? I hate that girl. I hate her. I hate her. Latilia. We've got her. We've got, we're trying to, I can't even speak. We're trying to combat all these plans without just like morally gray, right? Just like stab some people. Do something. You've got Vargo and Gray and Denia, and like everybody is just like nip it in the bud, and Ren's just like no can't do. And then like she didn't tell her family, she didn't tell Gianna or Denia any of the things about how she's not really Latilia's daughter, and she's just like, no, I was gonna tell them but now I can't. Shut up. all of this just for Latilia to publicly expose her and Denia to be like, don't show your face to me again. all of the things. And then, you know, there's that whole thing about Gray's sister, Alinka, or whatever her name is, being like, just give up being Renata, just be, you know, a Renza. And and then they find like the owner of Nanette, the medallion of death or whatever, and he's dead, and they've got the medallion, and I can't take it. My heart can't take it. I'm so stressed out. And also I'm just like, is this going to ruin Tess's shop that she's opening because she was affiliated with Renata? I am stressed out of my little mind. So Gray wins the trials. He gets to ask Renata for the courtship. They have all of these solutions to fix all the things. And she's exposed. And she's out of the House Trementus register. Just like that. Just like that. I don't know where we go from here. I assume that House Trementus is not just going to be an enemy for the rest of the book. Like, I assume that things are going to happen with them. And I know that, like, Ren didn't want to have to live as Renata, really, you know. And then you got all the stuff with the rebels, and, you know, I'm just like... I need people to be okay. I need my babies to be okay. And, you know, I don't feel good about it right now. And also, now they're just like a bunch of penniless peasants. Gray no longer is going to have an income. Ren no longer has an income. Tess probably isn't going to have an income. Like, obviously, Vargo's not going to let them sink into the depths of poverty. Like, Gray's sister probably isn't going to have an income. I am just like, how are you all going to live in this economy? Help! I'm unwell. I finished part 2. I've cried so much. I cry so easily with like bittersweet or like heartfelt moments. It is my kryptonite, and I am undone. There were so many of them. Oh my god, I just feel empty. Oh, okay, so you have all, you know, House Trementus are just like, just forgive Ren. She loves you, and then the knots being undone are being incensed against Vargo, and Vargo getting tortured, and then losing contact with Alcius, Gray and Ren getting married, and then his brother showing up and forgiving Vargo, and Gray's horrible father and grandmother and the poison husband, the curse. Like, maybe I should have waited to record this, but I can't. The curse through all of the lives because of his tie to the destroyed clan, and then the destroyed clan. The destroyed clan are the Zelda, and the remain of the Israeli. Oh my god, I'm probably making no sense. Ren and Gray's wedding. And Tess is engaged, and then Vargo and Sedge getting Ren's mother show. Oh my god, I can't. I still have a whole part left in this book. Oh, I am not well. I am not well at all. And then Tanaya, like, sending Latilia away with, you know, threatening to expose her for impersonating a noble, and Tanaya having a romance, and Gianna having a romance. And they rescued the Rook. They fixed the Rook, and they're trying to save the parts of the soul of the Sorsha. And the rebellion, and Gray's grandmother, and the medallions. I just, like, how are we supposed to save the entire world? How are we supposed to save it? And also have all these precious moments. I hate it here. Oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And good old what's-her-face that starts with a T. Tanaquist getting to talk to their, the person that they're like the most obsessed with his teachings about the Great Dream. And Arcady moving all of her children into Ren's house and Vargo giving her the house. And Gray's hair being long enough to do the marriage braid. I've gotta stop. Also, Sedge and Varuni. Just everything I've ever needed. All this time, it was Tanaquist. She was behind, like, everything. Holy cow. Holy cow. Unbelievable. Tanaquist. This is crazy. This is crazy. I am flabbergasted. I never saw this coming at all. At all. At all. This is such a stupid book. I hate it so much. Asmius, why would you do this to us? I'm so sad. I have finished the final book. So let's go over part 3. I thought that it was a great choice to have the rebellion start with Ren, Vargo, and Gray all in the dream. I thought that was just smart. It made so much sense for all of the things, right? And I thought the rebellion was a really good thread through it. It didn't overwhelm the ending, but you got all of that addressed, obviously leading to the change in the politics for the entire city and territory and all of that to hopefully a much more equal distribution of power and a much fairer system for the indigenous people. I loved the way that Ren took down Gray's grandmother and righted that wrong in so many ways. I love that Ren found her mother's family and found out why, and her father. Her father was just hysterical, and also it just made so much sense, all the reasons why Ren has such a strong connection to the dream and to her goddess. I love that Alcius is not alone. I was so sad that he left Vargo, but he's not alone, and both of their fathers are together. And Arcady being Vargo's heir. It makes sense that Vargo gave up his ennoblement charter, although like, I kind of wish he didn't, but I love that Arcady is his heir. I love that she treats him the same way that Vargo treated Alcius. I loved Tess's wedding. I love that the original Labyrinth and temple is back. All the stuff with Tanaquist, I just did not see coming, but I love the way that that played out, because I was even thinking, like, I don't want the medallions to be dragged out all the way to the end, which again is like a theme through the series where I'm just like, are we gonna be working on this for forever? And then we're not, and there's more to come, and I love that. But the medallions get fixed, and what a incredible scene that was. And you know, you feel so much for Tanaquist, and she lost her hand and all of this, and to find out not only that she saved them but was still under the influence of Nanette, and how she's been under the influence her whole life and no one realized it, and how she masterminded no one knowing and getting it back into her hands. Just like the incredible reveal that that was. And I think that played well because you had the medallions, and then straight after the medallions are fixed you have the rebellion stuff. So it's, even though you still have a good chunk of the book left, you're not like, why are we tying everything up now? There must be more, because there is more. There's all of the political stuff with the country basically, and so you're not really expecting another thing that you have to fight because you have your hands full already. Like, it makes sense that you're still in the book even though things are solved, and then bam, out of left field it feels like you've got Tanaquist just, you know, trying to again do what, not only was she behind it at, you know, Veiled Waters or whatever last year, but now she's there for the dream and the, you know, renewing of the cycle of the 49 years and all of that. And of course you have the restoration of the lost clan, and you have Gray and Ren's family, you know, helping them, but also then Tanaquis's punishment is basically to help them. And I love that as well, because I'm glad that like we didn't give up on her. I'm glad that her getting true family was part of the resolution, and also getting to understand pattern better. Like, she's working for Shorsha. Like, I feel like that was really well done. I just love my characters so much. I love all of them so much, and I'm just glad that they're okay. Even like the parts, I'm like gonna try not to just cry constantly, but like the parts where it was a sad ending or a new beginning, I'm just glad with how they handled their characters and the happy ending that they gave them. I love that Ren and Gray are trying their best to make a way forward for the three different peoples, basically, to move forward together, and that they're willing to be part of that change of tradition and that, you know, braiding together of the threads. And I just love them. I just love them. And also, it's hilarious that everyone thinks that Vargo is the Rook now, and I love Vargo and Gray's, you know, brotherhood. My liar's not my three characters. Truly just a masterpiece. I'm just so happy with the resolutions. There were so many things at the end that and even each book is like, okay, I know that we have this solved, but I don't really know where we're going from here. But they always, you know, kept the tension, they kept it going, they kept the plot going, and it made sense with things that you already had, even though you couldn't have predicted it. And they just did a really great job of having that plot continue to twist and turn, but also to have resolutions and also to make sense for what they had already laid out. And I love that. They're really just some of my favorite characters at this point. And I love where we just want to do a quick update on my series thoughts. Here's my spread. So my favorite things about the series are obviously the characters. I am such a sucker for clever characters and romances, and also, you know, just them growing closer together. But the world building, the use of pattern and Numenatra in the world building was a really fascinating part to me, and something that I think elevated the series overall. The involvement of deities is not a thing that I think that I love in books, but it's something that a lot of my favorite fantasies do have. The queer normative world, especially the inclusion of trans characters in their society and how that is just accepted, I thought was great. We start the series with three completely unconnected people, and each one of them is alone in their own way. Not that they are completely isolated, but they really don't have the network of support that they need. And we watch not only our three main characters get so incredibly close, but also this huge cast of characters that we have being intertwined in all the ways that we are intertwined in real life as a society. They needed each other. Ren and Vargo and Gray, as incredible as they are, they couldn't fix everything on their own. They needed the amount of people that were helping them. World building, top tier, plot, amazing, but ultimately I'm here for the characters, the humor, the poignant, heartfelt moments, the way that they loved each other was really my favorite. I do have a couple recommendations for you if you have finished this whole video and have loved the series for the same reasons that I have loved this series. If you want a young adult fantasy series, I recommend the Queen's Thief series by Megan Whalen Turner. In my opinion, The Rook and Rose is really an adult version for fans of the Queen's Thief series. The plots are not that similar, but your clever characters, your twists, your, you know, unlikely allies, all of that, the deities, I think that you would really like one if you like the other. Much like the beginning of the first book is slow, the beginning of the first book feels like you're just kind of meandering for the Queen's Thief series, so I really recommend at least finishing that book. Books 2 and 3 in the series are my personal favorites. And then if you want an adult fantasy romance series, you're gonna have a lot of sex in this book. It is not closed door like Rook and Rose. A Gathering of Dragons, which does not actually involve any dragons, by the way, by Milla Vane. Again, the clever characters, the world building, the political machinations, the deities, all of these are true for all three of these series. I really think if you like those things in one or two of these series, you will love all three. So if you have any recommendations for me based on this series, I would absolutely love to find anything even remotely similar. So political machinations, characters, I really do appreciate some romance. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know all your thoughts on the series in the comments. Bye.